Test 1, 2. Testing 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2. Testing 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2. Hello and good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. It's great to have you here on the live stream, day 2 of 3 in the Leverage WordPress Masterclass. I'm really excited to have you guys here with me today, and I think I've solved the sound issues. Thank you very much, and don't forget, replays are available, and so I'm really happy to get into the meat of it today. Yesterday or 2 days ago, we talked about hosting, hosting for WordPress websites. And if you're working with WordPress and, you want to leverage WordPress and master it as far as serving websites up to the public. And yesterday we talked about 3 types of WordPress hosting, why and when you would use each one, and how you can develop that into supporting yourself as a business, either making websites for clients or making websites for your own business and supporting them. And let's just take a quick review here as I switch over to the shared screen. And I know this is where the sound was messed up the other day, but I've tested it, and I'm going to check the comments too to make sure that everything is good. If you guys can hear me, I would appreciate it if you'd let me know in the comments. Although I did do some sound tests. If we go down to the comments here, yes. Thank you. And so let me go back to the tab, and let's go over to the iPad screen here for a quick moment. So, we had 3 types of hosting. There's shared hosting. There's managed WordPress hosting, and then self-managed. With shared hosting, as you remember, that involves having many websites existing on the same server. And we use kind of some special systems like the DNS, domain name system, the IP address. The IP address is the same for each server. However, each of these sites has a different domain name, right? So that's where the DNS comes in. And with shared hosting, because the hosting provider is able to break up that server space using software, this happens to be less expensive. And so I really recommend shared hosting from certain providers. SiteGround is by far one of the best shared hosting providers. And just so you guys know, below the video there are each of the videos, the replay from yesterday and today. There are some resource links that can take you to the places, the providers where these resources are available for you. But for shared hosting, it is the place I'd recommend you start out. So start here. Start here if you're just starting out on your own website or even websites for clients. But there were a few gotchas. Watch the replay from the other day to get to know those. But you can get shared hosting, especially starting out, for something like $5 a month. And even just a little bit more. Now managed hosting, a little bit more of a mystery. There might be one website on the existing server, or there might be other websites that you don't really know about. And because these are served and managed by professional system administrators, what you have is VPS, Virtual Private Server. And by virtual, I mean that they can use software to divide each of the servers, and they can really control in a really specific way how many resources each of the sites that you have hosted at your managed WordPress server, and what resources are available to you. And so Flywheel is a great example of an excellent managed host. And another thing that managed hosting does for you is it's managed, of course. It is a place where you really just have to set and forget. And, that is something where it costs a little bit more, so you might go $10 a month per site. And as you start to get into multiple sites, eventually it makes sense to move to something like self-managed, where, if you have, it's a VPS system, something like GridPane, which I use for all my client and my own websites these days. But you can get as many VPSs as you like, and my point is that, you can have a VPS, a virtual private server managed by you, where you host all of your brochure sites. These would be, small sites. You can say you could have 20 to 40 sites on here, for something like $20. That's for all 20 to 40 sites. That's more like $1 or 50 cents per month per website. If you have a WooCommerce site, if you have an LMS or something like, a membership, then you might want to just have one site on each of these VPSs. And when you start to scale up above, say, 10 sites, you might be managing 20 sites or 40 sites. Instead of having the cost of, say, 40 sites, maybe over here at managed hosting costing you $400 a month, you can set it up with self-managed hosting so that, you could have 40 sites really costing you the base price of $200 plus your servers. So something like $220. Or you could have 80 sites and only pay, about $260 or something like that. So that's just an overview of, the way that you can start out your business with shared hosting, move towards something like managed WordPress hosting, and then really move as you host multiple sites. I would really suggest that you stay on managed hosting if it's working for you and you're doing fewer than 5 sites. But as you exceed that number, I would recommend looking at self-managed hosting like GridPane so that you can get more economical as you grow. And so, it only takes one client site to pay for your hosting now and forever. And I described that a little bit a couple days ago, where, I charge from $100 to $300 a month to host each of the WordPress sites that I support for my clients. And that includes website care, updates, security, monitoring, and a little bit of help if the client needs help with managing their content, putting up new content. But you can tell that, if I'm only hosting 1 to 5 sites, $100 a month can really pay for that if I'm looking at a $5 to $10 a month charge, And so from the very beginning in the 90s, when I started hosting client websites, I never really paid for any of my own hosting. Client sites were paying my hosting bill, and I was able to then use that to host my own websites alongside my client sites. And as I've grown, that hosting recurring revenue has become a real business. There's kind of 2 parts to it. If we go back to the iPad here, let's just go up and let's talk about, hosting for a little bit. So, one client website, for a brochure site, at a minimum, if you're really starting out, I used to charge $300 a year for website hosting and maintenance and website care plan. Now, I really, so what is that? That's $25 a month. And for years, I've had a lot of clients on those that level of hosting. But now each of my client sites pays, $300 excuse me, $100 to $300 a month. And so when you talk about that, that is, what do they call that? Monthly recurring revenue. It only takes a few of those sites to begin to see real revenue. If you had 10, you're talking about that's a good little income for just hosting and maintenance, and that doesn't count the design systems. So if you're talking about also doing a website project, if you're going to do a WordPress site like for a brochure site, minimum you should be charging $3,000 US for the project. And the way I do this is by a single project fee. And really I don't try to get one new client every couple of days or one new client a week. Really, I focus on less than a new client a month. But if you get one new client a month, at a minimum, you're talking about $3,000 a month. And now when you combine that with, say, three, and I would say that for these types of sites, I charge $3,000 to $5,000 depending on what the goals are for the business. And just a side note, when you talk to clients about hosting their websites, you really want to focus on what the benefits are that this website is going to bring their business. The key questions that I ask clients are, so if you envision your website at suchandsuch.com, what is the reason for having that website? If this website brings you 5 to 10 new clients every single week, what does that mean financially for you? And often the answer to that question is, an order of magnitude larger than what I would be charging, So if you're bringing on one, maybe 2 clients a month, you're talking about, for project fees, $3,000 to $10,000. During that period in a month, plus your monthly recurring revenue adding to that really ends up being, a viable business. And then, you guys can take all this information I'm teaching about, leveraging WordPress and mastering the systems so that, you can start to, if you want to, many of you guys have taken my class at Udemy in order to, sell websites to clients. And each of those is money times the number of clients, right? But you could also do this in your own business. If you had business ideas, it would only take, a little bit of leverage to be able to start building sites like this for yourself, where they could bring in money into your bank account as a business. So, take this as it is. Today, we're going to get into developing the design systems. Yesterday, or I keep saying yesterday, a couple of days ago in part 1, we talked about, how to do the system administration, how to manage WordPress websites along with email systems for transactional email going out and for, send and receive email, domain names, and keeping those things hosted separately from different hosting and different providers for those things so that you can upgrade and migrate easily from shared hosting up to managed hosting or self-managed hosting, and then keeping email systems separate. Today, we're going to be talking about design systems. This is really what I'm most excited about, I guess, as far as in my business. It's only over the years since the mid 90s and in the WordPress world since the early 2000s, I've really had drastically than 100 clients at a time. I generally, for the last 10, 15 years, have stayed at around 50 websites that I manage. But, if you look at what does that really mean? If I'm managing 50 websites, well, for each of those websites, I've done a project fee of, way back in the early days, $1,500 for a website. These days, $3,000 to $5,000 for a website each time I make a new one. That's maybe about once a month. $100 to $300 a month times 50 websites. So let's say $100 a month, and I'm hosting 50 websites. Well, that's $5,000 a month. That's a $60,000 a year income from my clients, and that's without the project design fees. So if you take, if we go quickly before we go into the design systems, if you talk about, each month, if you take on one client, all right, and then each month you're managing some number of clients. Maybe you're let's just, for ease of numbers, let's talk about, as far as 50 clients on website care. What are we talking about there? 50 clients at 100. So right there, you're talking about a six-figure income, right? And so that's what I've developed in my website business. Easy to manage. And the way that I've done it is by leveraging WordPress and leveraging other providers like hosting. Today, we're going to talk about leveraging the design tools. And, just like the other day, I had 3 options that I've explored over the years and I've learned to leverage. And today, we're going to talk about, in the modern world of WordPress right now, 3 different design frameworks that I would recommend that you start with and learn. And I use all 3 of these design frameworks depending on the project. Today's lessons are going to be about how you can spend a little bit of time learning these systems so that your design systems and your websites are future-proof, very, very speedy and high-performant websites. And what I mean by future-proof is that these are systems that are actively being developed in the WordPress world. Some of them are free and some of them are paid. The paid systems that I use in my business have often been very, very low cost for what I'm able to do. So we're taking a low cost item like a Divi themes and Divi builder license for building designs on top of WordPress that costs $250 for a lifetime with unlimited websites. Another system that we're going to talk about is the included and default Gutenberg Block Builder inside of WordPress, and layering on top of that some free themes and block libraries. One of them is called Kadence, and there's some others. I'm going to give you 3 options within that single, within that option there. But that's somewhere where I would recommend that you start if you're not ready to invest in your design tools yet. And we'll be talking about how to use each of these and going into detail the way I use Divi for most client sites these days. And then thirdly, there's another builder called Oxygen. Oxygen Builder for WordPress is more developer-centric. If you're more of an engineer, if you already know some HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and you're wanting to apply those skills to WordPress, the Oxygen Builder is really where you want to be these days. The Oxygen Builder is, again, a layer, a framework for building designs visually on top of WordPress. But the reason it's more developer-centric is that it takes a little bit more effort to understand it, being that it uses the same concepts and the same framework as HTML and CSS programming languages. And so the other thing that I'll say is in each of the 3 frameworks that we're talking about here today, there are available sample layouts, layouts, demo content, example sites that you can use both to learn the frameworks and at the same time to leverage those pre-designed layouts so that, for one, you can just show pre-designed demos to potential clients that you're talking to about WordPress and web design for their businesses. You don't have to go and design things from scratch. Now, speaking of which, if you're in a position where you are a designer and you're designing, in Figma or Adobe XD or Photoshop or Illustrator, if you're using design tools that are graphic design tools, to apply those into WordPress is probably the easiest if you know the Oxygen Builder system. Now, it's a little bit more difficult, but still completely possible to imitate a design that you designed, or even if you had a graphic designer create something for you fully custom, you can imitate that in Oxygen Builder very easily, and in the Divi Builder, absolutely. And you'll have a little bit of a harder time matching designs like that in the Gutenberg Block Editor within WordPress, and on these simpler themes and block design systems like Kadence and the others that I'll show you in a few minutes. So let's get into it. Let's talk about Gutenberg blocks. Let me get back into, sorry for the delay right here. Let me get back into the website. Here we go. As far as WordPress goes, let's talk about block patterns. Now, it used to be that the theme was very important in WordPress. In fact, let me go back to this WordPress homepage and let's just click the themes button. This is something that if you've been around the WordPress environment for any period of time, you're familiar with what a theme is. A theme is basically the look and feel that the WordPress site has, separate from the functionality, like forms and an e-commerce store and things like that. The theme in the past has been very, very fixed. It hasn't been very customizable. It was always up to the theme author to be able to provide some kind of interface in the WordPress customizer. And that's been pretty limited over the years. Enter WordPress 5.0. Right now we're at WordPress 5.8 and 5.9 is coming out in December. 5.8 and 9 have made huge strides in looking at blocks, block patterns, and the block editor within WordPress. And, in the WordPress system, there are still going to be themes that give you kind of a basic framework for building a WordPress website where, the theme may have, kind of a look and a feel that it starts with, and then you can get in there and customize it. In the past, we've had to use languages like CSS, changing the HTML or customizing the templates by actually creating our own code. These system inside of WordPress allows us to do things like, no matter what theme you have, this right here is the block patterns directory, new in WordPress 5.8, just a month or two ago. And so if you look here, this patterns directory inside of the WordPress block editor, this allows you to, if you have a website, and you can see in the patterns directory so far, there's all these little modular sections that you can bring. And so you can see there's so far 5 pages of these at wordpress.org. You can access these from your WordPress site directly, or come here to wordpress.org and take a look at them. This one is an introduction with, like a heading and some text, a button that links somewhere, along with a series of photos that have a nice grid layout, And so one thing you can do is just say, copy the pattern. If I copy that, now that pattern is, it's on the clipboard. I can paste that into any WordPress post or page, and it will look like this. So that's a good example of where WordPress is going as far as what you can do without having to manipulate any code at all to get custom designs done in WordPress, even by default, without using any kind of paid frameworks at all. Excuse me, got a drink of water. And so what happens here, you copy the pattern, and if I were to just bring just real quick, I'll just bring a notepad over here and paste that. I'm looking at a series of code where we've got some special WordPress divs here. And this looks very much like HTML. It is a version of HTML. Here's an H2 tag, views of Mount Fuji, that you can see, you know, right over there, and then the images in here. And you'll be able to bring this in just by pasting that into a WordPress page, and then editing the photos, bringing in your own photos using the WordPress editor. And so why would I recommend that you go even further to something like Kadence WP, or Astra is a really popular theme. A third one that I would recommend is called GeneratePress. Well, these are themes and that have paired with them block libraries. You know, so let's just focus on Kadence here for a second. If I roll over products and look at what's available here, there's bundles. You can buy a premium version of this, but within the Kadence ecosystem, the greatest thing about Kadence and Astra and GeneratePress is that it offers some of the power that the Divi theme or Oxygen or other builders like Elementor and Beaver Builder, they offer up some of the power of those page builders, but without sacrificing anything as far as performance and speed. And you're also future-proofing your website, right? So if we look at Kadence theme here, another thing that I use in my workflow are pre-designed templates. And so Kadence theme is the most modern, block editing theme. And they also have, not only do they have a theme, they have a blocks plugin that enables you to use starter templates like these and then completely modify them in order to use the designs there. And they're also very, very compatible with different things like WooCommerce for e-commerce, LearnDash for LMS, for a learning management system, Lifter LMS, things like that. And so really here's these three themes and block plugin systems all have a free version, and they do it like this. Choose a starting point, choose colors and global colors and global templates that you can use, fonts and typography, and then customizing header and footer. And this allows you to really customize the websites that you design both quickly and with fully customizable designs and global elements that makes your workflow go really, really fast. And so if we look at themes here, let's return to the WordPress homepage just quickly. I just want to show you under plugins. Now, of course, the themes repository is free and the plugins repository is free. And if I search for Kadence, Gutenberg Blocks by Kadence Blocks. This is similar to the block patterns that I was talking about. You can always use those block patterns that we were exploring here, But one thing that the Kadence Blocks does is it gives you a whole bunch of different blocks that you can use for design, and it makes it really, really easy and fast. The whole point of today's lesson and live stream is to give you a choice of frameworks, talk about when and why you would use each one, and then how to make your workflow very fast, how to make websites that are really, really fast loading. And so they're high performant websites. Some of the problems that have been brought up in the past by WordPress website developers are that, as these page builders have really come into vogue to allow code-free WordPress web design, they've also added a lot of bloat and they've become kind of heavy. At this point, Elementor and Beaver Builder and Divi are the big three, I might call them, the big three page builders in the WordPress design ecosystem. Now, Divi recently released a modular system for performance, and we're going to go over that. I'm going to give you kind of an in-depth dive where we're going to go a little more narrow and deep down into the Divi system, and I'm going to build a couple of pages and show you why I believe Divi is far and away above the other page builders in the WordPress ecosystem right now because of its ability to eliminate bloat and prevent code that's not used from being presented to the user on the front end. Similar to Gutenberg, I talk about future-proofing your website. And by using Gutenberg and the block editor within WordPress, along with a simple framework like Kadence or Astra or GeneratePress, those are really future-proofing your website. Now, that doesn't mean that there's any negatives to using Divi or something like that. Divi is not going away anytime soon, and they're working very hard on improving performance. And in fact, Divi as it stands now, because they've modularized all the different ways that they use dynamic CSS and JavaScript for all the modern functionality that we need in websites, like small animations and scrolling animations, rollover and hover effects, things that slide across from the left or from the right, fade-ins, and Ajax functionality, like pop-ups coming up without the user having to reload the page. Those are all things that if you add a lot of that stuff in certain ways, it can increase the size of the page load and therefore increase the time that it takes. Now, it's very important these days with Google's new rules and the other search engines that your page speed is really, really fast. And I'm really proud of Divi for coming out with, a lot of different performance enhancements that basically modularized all the background code like the CSS. So if you're not using a particular module like a slider or a gallery, then the JavaScript that powers those functions never gets loaded for the user. In the past, and with the other page builders like Elementor, etc., those are all loaded. And so the page speed is going to suffer because of that. With Divi, not anymore. You're able to get, in the 90s up to 99 and 100 as far as page speed insights and how fast the websites are able to load, even using the page builders. And I encourage you to experiment. But the reason that I use Divi on almost all of my website jobs and my personal websites these days is because it's like having a very powerful design layer like Adobe Photoshop or Illustrator, a graphic design program layered over top of WordPress. And this really, until now, hasn't really been possible, and you can build websites visually. And that's what I'm going to show you here as we really get into it in today's lesson. And so let's go back to the sharing my screen again. And again, I've given you, I'm going to send you the notes again for all of everything I've gone over here. So you'll have a reference. You don't have to be scribbling notes too fast, but just sit back and pay attention to the concepts that I go over. And I'll give you links to, Kadence. And of course, there's Astra and GeneratePress. As far as Divi goes, whoops, let me scroll back up. Let me scroll back up to the top. The biggest benefit, like I was talking about, is building visually. The visual builder within Divi basically puts a layer on top of WordPress so that if you're looking at this, little video, this animated GIF on the Elegant Themes Divi website, you can see that there's these little controls that are being pulled up. And you can see that the user here in these screenshots is looking at the actual website. And then they just give little toolbars and little control pop-ups so that you can control everything visually. It's the beauty of the visual builder. You know, WYSIWYG is the term that we've always been going for within WordPress. The original classic editor, which was called TinyMCE, was, you know, at the time was the best we could come up with as far as a WYSIWYG editor. What it meant was if you highlighted some text and then you went up to the top, like as if you were in a, you know, a Word document or something, you could click bold, and then that would make the text bold and you would see it in your editing window. WYSIWYG stands for what you see is what you get. And I would say that the Divi Builder is really the closest we've ever come to WYSIWYG editing inside of WordPress. Now, that's not to put down the other builders. Elementor, Beaver Builder, they do a really excellent job of doing WYSIWYG editing as well. But for a lot of different reasons, I prefer the Elegant Themes Divi theme. And there's a link below the video here so you can go and check it out. I do want to show you that Elegant Themes also is a robust company that puts out blog posts and tutorials all the time. And although there is a little bit of a learning curve, there's so much good information out there about learning how to use this design framework on top of WordPress. And then thirdly, if you look at the layout packs that are available, that are available for Divi, this is just a web page. If you go to elegantthemes.com and roll over Divi and click Layouts Library, that's where I am here, you can see that there's a number of different layouts and styles, and these are not single pages. You know, if I want to look at any one of these layouts, digital marketing, for example, if I click that, now they've gone ahead and designed 8 different pages that all match as far as typography, color scheme, and all the different sections that you can see right here. And if I go back again to the layouts list available in Divi, this is really what speeds up my workflow, and it really improves my relationships with my clients because they're like, boy, this is a really great resource. Now, I don't send clients to this layout pack, web page. You can see that there's 235 different designs, and that's not 235 individual pages. That's 235 actual packs that contain their own pages, 1,728 pages. As far as total. And from within Divi on your website, you can bring those in, and I'm going to show you how to do that right now. Only a couple of months ago, there were less than 200. So they put out a new one every single week. They're professionally designed layouts that I use as starting points, and I use for learning new things within the Divi environment as well. And so you may look at, you may have seen leveragewordpress.co. What theme framework do you think I'm using here? Well, enable visual builder. It says right up here, it's purple, and there's a D. Well, this is a Divi site. The homepage of Leverage WP is a blog page, so it updates every time I make a new post. I just wanted to show you how I might go about editing this page. Now, I'm logged in already, as you can see. And so I've got a few different things to show you here in the Divi Visual Builder. One of the things I've got at the top in my admin bar is Enable Visual Builder. This is what I was talking about before. If I click Enable Visual Builder, it's now going to load the builder layer, and it's going to stick it on top of the actual website that I can see here. Now, it doesn't look that different, does it? There's a little purple button here. And that opens some controls across the bottom. Those are page controls. But then every single element that I roll over here inside of this Divi page gives me these colorful little control tabs, okay? And so just very quickly, a blue one is a section. You can see, you might be able to see that blue line around the outside of this, this section. And then there's a row layer, and this one allows you to go in and choose how many columns that row layout is going to be, okay? And just pause for a quick second. I've got to let the cat outside of the door. Yes, we're live. We're live. Maybe I'll cut that out in the replay. So Chewy the cat needed to get out. But if we go back to the row here, maybe I wanted to make a quick change to just this title. And this gray little tab is for module settings. So where this is a section, sections contain rows, and rows contain modules. And, you know, if you look at inside of WordPress, inside of Divi, if I wanted to just insert a new module into the page, you can see that Divi has created all of these different module types. This is, you know, far and away, way more modules than you can get by default within WordPress, and even in those other, Gutenberg block editing plugins. Way more design options are here. So that's how you would add a new module. But what if I wanted to take this header, it says leverage WordPress blog, and I just wanted to change it to say maybe just leverage WordPress. This is my my design pop-up over the top. I could say, okay, so let's see, I want to edit this out. I'm just going to take blog out. You can see it reflected my changes over here, and then maybe I want to just make this a little bit smaller so that it will fit on one line. So let's see, if I look over here, I can see that's heading 1. So that's an H1. All I have to do is use the design tab here, go to heading text, and I want to edit what an H1 does. So I'd click H1 up here. I've got my font, my weight and everything. I mean, you can do all caps, you can do all kinds of different things with it, but really what I'm looking to do is to bring this into one line. So I'm looking at the desktop version, and I'm just going to bring the slider down a little bit, and you can see in real time I can go small enough so that, all right about there, maybe 36 pixels. And now that looks great. I'm previewing right here. It's not live on the website yet, but that's what I think I want. And now if I go over to the tablet size, we're now looking at responsive design directly within the builder. And boy, this really makes my my design process super fast. So I'm talking while I'm doing it. So I'm a lot slower than I would be if I was designing a website for a client. But let's see, if that's 36 on desktop, over here, you know, you could see that it stacked everything a little bit differently, right? And so I'm going to take and maybe leave that the same size at 42 for tablet size. And then what about mobile phone? Okay, it's down to 26. I had made a few adjustments there. And then, you know, you can do things like letter spacing, all kinds of typography work. Maybe if I made some changes here and I want to go back to the default, all I have to do is click, okay, reset the settings just for this one particular part of this one little text module that I have here. So, okay, if I'm happy with that, you know, I can bring this over here. If I really want to, I can nest that to the side so that I could see everything. And of course, I've got my window shrunken down a little bit for this live stream. But working on a big 24-inch monitor gives you a lot of room to work. And if you want to work in this way, like you're on your laptop, that works totally fine also. Go back to desktop size. If that's what I want, I could just click the green arrow here. The green checkbox. And now that I've done that, I can go and work on different modules. But if I want to just save this page, I go down to the page editing control bar, and I'll just click save to go ahead and do that. And now if I go exit the visual builder, save and exit, I did click save there, but it wants to make sure that I've saved my changes. And now I am viewing the actual site, and you can see that my change was made right here. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? And so that is something that, that is just an example of the power of the visual builder inside of Divi. And so let's go over here to the WordPress dashboard. And I'm in the Leverage WordPress, leveragewp.co website dashboard now. And if I go, say, over to pages, I just wanted to show you, so the blog page is defined as the front page right now, but I wanted to show you why the Divi theme and the Divi builder kind of circumvents the whole WordPress theme ecosystem. Let's click Add New. I'm just going to add a new page here. And this is something that you're definitely not able to do when using the Gutenberg Block Editor with a particular theme over in the, the kind of the traditional and default WordPress setups. Let's see. Let's call this the masterclass lesson page, right? And you might be familiar with it, but if not, this is the traditional editor. This is the block editor within WordPress, right? But what I'd like to do is, instead of using the default editor, I want to use the Divi builder for this page. So if I just click Use Divi Builder, now this is, oops, it didn't click. So if I click Use Divi Builder, now this is going to bring up, it knows that there's nothing designed here yet, right? And so you can build from scratch, where you can just start bringing in modules and bringing in sections and rows, columns, as well as modules, and start building. You could clone an existing page, and that's a great way to go if you've already designed a custom page, say for the home page, and you're like, okay, now I'm going to design an about page, and but I want everything to match. This gives you, again, a head start and a saving yourself some time, But I generally will choose a pre-made layout. Let's browse the layouts. Now, I already showed you, but you may have some familiarity with this look. Now, isn't this all the 235 layout packs that we saw on the Divi website are available to me now within my own website? And here's where it really gets exciting. I am not limited to the look and feel of the theme and then having to modify each page in order to get custom or different designs. Just by having Divi installed as a theme on my website, I am able to do a look and feel that's completely different. And so, one of the things I'll show you is that for leveragewp.co, I really fell in love with this layout called home staging. And it doesn't matter that I don't have a business in real estate or staging homes for sale. But what I do have is the ability to customize these different layouts, and they all match each other. But if I wanted to bring in a totally different design, maybe I wanted to look at this fashion one, and I thought, I really like the way this gallery works. This gallery, which has this kind of staggered grid, boy, I really like the way that looks. And so for this page, I'm going to go ahead and use that layout. Now that's almost like bringing in a different theme into WordPress just for one single page. A task that would be impossible if you were using the traditional WordPress system, where you can only choose one theme at a time. And so one design system at a time. So you can see that this has imported that design within the body area of this page, okay? And it does have, kind of a header and a footer in there. And I could just say, because my website, as you can see, my website already has a footer, right? My website has a header that's up here with the menu, and I have a custom button. So what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and say, okay, well, this section at the top, well, I'm just going to trash that. Or, well, you know what? Instead of trashing it yet, before I trash it, this is my habit. Before I trash it, I'm just going to call this the pink header. There's a pink header just in case I wanted to get it back. I could save that to the Divi library. And then at any point, if I wanted to, add that back in at some point, I can. Very easy. Or I could, of course, use the layouts library from Divi and import it again. But if I just trash that, oh, now this is looking better. So if this is going to be just a gallery page like this, and just like before, I can go down to this section, and you can see that this one is a little different. It's not a full width section. This one is a boxed layout, at the same width as your content. And so these are all design systems that you can get to know and utilize to make WordPress websites so fast. So let's just go ahead and this is going to be the pink footer. I'm saving this layout into the Divi library and labeling it so that when I delete it, if I wanted to go ahead and bring that in later, I can. So now we're really looking like more of a unified page that I build right here. You know, what if I'm like, okay, let's see, I'm working on it still. Let's save the draft. I don't want to save this as a public page quite yet, if at all. I know this is just a practice page and I could delete it later. So I've saved it as a draft. But as I'm still editing here, what if I wanted to go down and, you know, in fact, I do want to add another section at the bottom here. If I want a section, what am I looking for? Oh, I can add from the library. Look at that. I can add the pink footer right back in if I want to. Or I could just say, well, you know, I want a new section, whether it's a regular section, a specialty section is for organizing different columns, layouts that would be complex, kind of like this gallery, or a full width section has an assortment of modules that are designed to be full width, like Google Maps or something like that. So, you know, what if I wanted a full width and maybe I wanted to have like a full width map right here? I could add a pin to the map where the title might be, you know, my location. And, you know, there's where the address would be. And then I'll go ahead and, you know, click save on that and then save right there. So once I have my Google Maps API right there, this will show a full width map that would be interactive, a nice Google map. Well, let's go ahead and erase that one. And I just want to show you how, again, I could go and what if I wanted to add a new section? And what if I wanted to add from the library and I wanted, oh, here's what about a footer form? And this is something that I have, that I saved before that matches the home staging layout. So now I've got a matching, maybe I wanted a contact form. Maybe I'm creating a contact page right here. At the bottom, I wanted to have the address and a working contact form in here. By the way, when using Divi, you don't have to use a contact form plugin. They have a contact form module that's very robust and even connects with, you know, email marketing software like MailChimp so that you can create an opt-in form without even having to use additional plugins. And so I can go ahead and save the draft here. Let's transition into some global elements. And I just want to finish up today by showing you how you might work globally. Now you can see that, you know, my controls here, my section controls, my row controls, and my module controls are all available within this section with the white background. But up here at the menu in the header, I don't have any controls right up here. And you know, at the bottom, I don't have any controls here. Well, this is a global element. This is an element that is on every page of the website. And so let's see, I've saved this as a draft. And now I'm just going to go right back to the WordPress dashboard. And I'm just going to go ahead and show you where I can edit the header and the footer. Under Divi, I can go to Theme Builder. And this is a really powerful way to make global elements not only fully global, like this global header and global footer that I'm going to show you, but also different headers and footers for different templates that you can create. Right here, I've got a blog post template, and I'll show you that right after. But let's just take a look. In this Theme Builder section, I can just hit edit on this global header. A green indicates that this is a global item that is active on every page of the website. Over here, you could see where let's see if I hit the edit gear right here. Where is this template active? Well, this is on all posts, only blog posts. So this template, which has a different look and feel inside, is not on the homepage, but only on the blog posts. And I'll show you that here in a second. But let's go ahead and look at the let's look at the global footer. So the footer that I have, and I can see it across the top, it's telling me where I am, so keep me oriented. But this is the very top of the footer, and here's the bottom of the footer, right? So if I go back to, the leverage, there's our actual live stream. Here's the leverage WordPress, leveragewp.co masterclass, and thanks for leaving comments, guys. Awesome. It looks like the sound. Oh, great, Raphael. Thank you so much. Perfect sound. Oh my gosh, that was embarrassing. Anyway, and yes, Raphael and Envato. I'll talk about that a little bit before we wrap up here. Envato is the company that also has Theme Forest, a really robust ecosystem for WordPress themes. And I do have an opinion about Theme Forest. Ooh, whoa, we're getting some some mirroring here. I'll get away from that. But in any case, the footer of the website looks like this. And so I could take, if I edit anything here, if I wanted to say maybe just I mean, this is live on my website, so I'm not going to change too much, but maybe I want to get rid of this colon, So I just edited this section. I'm going to hit backspace and hit this to save, and then open up the bottom page controls and click save for the whole page. Now this page just represents the footer, right? And then I can close out, and it tells me up here all changes are saved. So what happens when I go and refresh the page on the website as I look at the footer? Oh, you know what? I don't even have the header and the footer on the masterclass page. That's funny. So let me just go back to the home page here. So let's see. Yeah, leverage WordPress. Where's the... You know what I'll do is just do this, guys. Sorry about that. All right, here we are on the real website. This is the home page. So down at the bottom, of course, that colon should be gone. Yes, excellent. And so that happened on every page of the website. If I go back here to the the theme builder, I wanted to show you just a little bit about this blog post template that I have here. So what I have is I've copied this global header and global footer over to a different template. Because what I wanted to do was use the same global header and footer, but I wanted to add a custom body area for blog posts to make it easy for me to just create new content using the WordPress block editor instead of Divi. Now, here's an example of, I'll give you a reason why you would use this as we take a look at it. But let's open up this template called Custom Body. Now, remember, this is only being used on blog posts, okay? So this will look a little bit different. Like there's no image here. This isn't an actual post title, but it's a dynamic post title holder. That's like a placeholder. So there are these placeholders here that are designed in Divi, and this is a Divi builder item, right? So what is this? Well, the post title will be here. If it's in a category, the category names will appear here. If there's a featured image for that blog post, it'll appear here. And you can custom design the blog post typography. This is what headings will look like. This is the different sizes. Here is, a quotation. Here's all the different typography things. Here's an about. There's a related posts section, the way that the comments look. The only thing I'm editing here is what every post will look like. And so let's get out of here for a second, and let's quickly go back to the home page. And what happens when I click through to a blog post? Here it is. Well, there's the blog post title. There's the featured image. It's in 2 categories. And I can click here. That's a custom little scroller that goes down to read the article. And even, down at the bottom, there's the author and a button that's colorized. It says next post. Now, yeah, that's all well and good and great, but why does this save time? Why does this save you headaches as a web designer, especially as you design for clients? So what if you have a client and you're like, well, I don't have extra users in here, but you can use user roles, under Under users, you can control their roles so they aren't able to use Divi. They aren't able to do things like control products, but maybe they're only able to edit posts and the media library. And you have someone where you've made the website for the client, and the client doesn't need all of this stuff. It's really confusing. And in fact, there's a very high chance that if your client got in here and started to click around, if they didn't know better, they might break the website. And so what you do is you give that user an editor role instead of an administrator role within WordPress. And so let's go over to, say I was going to go and look at the posts. All right, let's look at that same post we were just looking at. Email for WordPress introduction, using business domains for website. Was that the one? Using business domains. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to click that here. And, as you can see, this WordPress post is not using the Divi builder. And one thing I can do, just as a side note, is I can limit the access. I'm an administrator, so of course I could use the Divi builder if I wanted to. But if I set up the user not to be able to do that, if the client went in here, they're using the traditional block editor, right? So, here's a block that's a paragraph block. Maybe I wanted to take that, I type some paragraph. Here is an image. I think that's just an image that, that has an image of the YouTube video that clicks to YouTube. And then here's some text. You could do things like, let's add another block. And now, so I'm in here, I'm not using Divi. I'm in here using the WordPress block editor, a much simpler process for your client. So, here I am. Let's do an H3. Of course, my typography is all pre-designed for them. I have a matching font right here. So, this is the heading. All right, and the client comes down here. They have a very, very low chance of breaking the website. In fact, they can't break any of the design. And so I'm going to go back here, and I definitely want to leave and not save that. This is a live blog post on the website. But you can see by using this really powerful design system, you're able to, for one, you're able to have a super powerful visual editor on top of your website that is also going to be high performant and fast. Number two, you are able to have so many more resources at your disposal as far as modules like, video embeds and different things like countdown timers and things for WooCommerce and e-commerce that we'll get into in the next segment on Thursday. You've got a lot of things, global elements, like having. I'm really excited to show you guys one more thing. If you give me a few more minutes, I know we've gone over an hour now, but let me show you something. Let me show you something super exciting in here. Say I'm let's see here. Let's see, we're on the post. Yeah, let me get back to if say I'm editing a page here. You know what? How do I find where I want to be? I can just let's see. I can edit the post. Sure. Yeah, I'll go back into this post editor here, because I'm back into the dashboard. I could say view the site. And now since I'm logged in, I get this bar across the top, right? So whatever page that I want to edit, I can go ahead and I can say, okay, I'm on this particular page. Let's enable the visual builder for this page. You never really have to go back into here, click pages, go find the page and click into it and then click edit with Divi. You can just navigate your website and go to the page you want to edit. Now, what if I go, let's see, what did I want to edit? Now, I wanted to make, I have, that's the footer. Let's see. Let's go and add something down here. If I wanted to just add a module, if I wanted to add another, another button. Ooh, I just saw a good one I wanted to use. Let's use a call to action. So on the call to action, where'd it go? The call to action module has, here's my control panel here. It comes in with a particular color, but it's not using the right typography. A couple of things I can do is I can say, well, okay, in this template, there's certain typography here, right? So if I take, let's see if I can show you this. If I just click my settings here, and then I say, copy the module styles. Things like heading, typography, colors, buttons. I could go in here and click paste module styles. Oh, it's not the same kind of module. That's why. That's okay. So anyway, you can copy and paste module styles so it'll change everything to exactly what you want. But really the global colors system is really what I wanted to show you. So in this call to action, I can go into design and let's see, I can go to the button style. Look at this button down here. Here we go. Let's see. If I go to buttons, use custom styles for this button. And then, do I want the text color to just be red? Okay. I can do that. Or if I look at global colors, maybe I want to add a global color. And I'm like, I know I found that color, that dark green color, right? I know I'm clicking around here all over the place and trying to find cool stuff to show you guys, but what if I go in here? This is a post slider, and do I have buttons? I have button styles, right? And here's a green color. If I just click that, and if I copy that color number, what if I go into global colors here, and I click plus, and I put that green in? All right, so that made that green as a global color. All right, so now I've got that green. I'm like, okay, so now that I have that there, let me go over here and just take a look. Let's see. Open this up, and here, what do I have under content? Do I have that's what I wanted to find, the background color. So there's background color. Now all I have to do is look at global. Oh, and it brings my green in. Nice. Okay. So I could save that. And then, here's another button. That's why this button, it wasn't part of the call to action. So for this button, if I want to go in here and, use custom styles for this button, all I have to do is choose this global color. And there came the green, right? Let's have the background button. Let's have the background color of the button be that green so that it's more visible. Now, I'm finally here. Okay, this is what I really wanted to show you. Let's make the text so that we can actually see it. I think the button text I made into that green color. So let's not do that. Let's make the button text white. Oh, that's funny. So now I've made changes to a global color. This will affect all instances of this global color across the entire site. And so that's what I really wanted to show you. What I wanted to show you was that if I go and, if I go, say I go into a place, I didn't save it. Sorry, I'm a little all over the place right here, guys. If I go to this button and I say, yes, that button, I want, it's got a blue color. So if I want the text color to be white, but I want the button background to be this global color. Global means that when you change the color in one place, it changes. Oh, I'm not going to save that. This is a live homepage on my website. It changes everywhere. I guess this is the last thing that we'll go over today. And then tomorrow, we're really going to get into the weeds a little bit with e-commerce and WooCommerce, landing pages and sales funnels, customizing the checkouts and using WooCommerce and using a CRM built into WordPress for managing customers and things like that. But here's the magic. If I edit this call to action module and I go to the place where my global color is held, okay, so you know what? Instead of, so that has that little corner on there, right? So you know what? Instead of this green color, I would like this to be just a bit darker of a green. Something more saturated like that, right? Or maybe I just want to make this background color red, all right? And that's a different global color. So if it's this global color, look how that changed the green. You know, maybe this global color, don't want it to be green. I want it to be like more of a purple. And a really rich, bright purple. Not only did that change the call to action here, but it changed the background of everything else on the website that was using that global color. And so I know I got there via a pretty roundabout route, but you can imagine that if you use global colors across your site, and then the client is like, we really need that dark kind of army green to be really kind of bright royal purple. All you have to do is go over to any section that title is using that global color and then change the global color, and it changes everything on every page of your website all at once, even if you had thousands or tens of thousands of blog posts or something like that. So an amazing system, this global color system, And now watch what I'll do here. I'm just going to get rid of this by exiting the Visual Builder, and I'm going to discard and exit so that, I didn't save all my changes on my live website right here. My gosh, that wouldn't be good, would it? So thank you for being here, guys. I really think that the 3 website frameworks, using the Gutenberg Block Editor, using a page builder like Divi that's very performant and also future-proof, by using Oxygen. If you're a real designer, if you're a programmer, you might appreciate the power of the Oxygen builder. And we'll talk a little bit about how those relate to e-commerce and WooCommerce, along with a couple of pieces of software that I use to really empower my WordPress website so that I don't have to use very expensive paid services like MailChimp. I don't have to pay a lot of fees or be limited as far as my e-commerce services, like using Shopify or something like that. I can do everything within WordPress. Day after tomorrow on Thursday at the same time, we're going to be putting it all together. Speedy hosting, designing quickly, and future-proofing WordPress websites, and adding business systems, really powerful business systems, a CRM that we can build into WordPress to be able to own our own content and our contacts instead of paying hundreds or thousands a month for a service like Salesforce or HubSpot or another CRM that is very powerful, granted, but it might not be appropriate for you if you're just starting out or if you're selling services to clients. There's robust, powerful programs for WordPress that can do this all in-house, and I'll teach you guys how to manage it as well. And so please take my appreciation. Thank you so much for being here. If you have any questions on things you'd like me to delve deeper on in the future, if you've got anything that wasn't quite clear today, please use the comments form below. And the replay is available from 2 days ago. This replay will be available almost immediately on this same exact page. And then Thursday, same time.